What if the world decided that freedom was too dangerous to exist? What if every thought, every emotion, every decision you made was judged before you even acted? In a society where peace is engineered and morality is automated, one man stands against the machine. Not for chaos, not for power, but for the right to be human. Welcome Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. And this is Shogo Makishima, the philosopher of rebellion. In a world that forgot how to think. Episode 9 and Part 4 of Arc 2, The Madness Within. Shogo Makishima was born into a world where the Sibyl System decides everything. Your job, your status, even your moral worth. A simple scan of your psychopass determines if you are fit to live freely or condemned as latent criminal. But Makishima, he's different. No matter what he does, his hue stays perfectly clear. To Sibyl, he is an error in the code, a ghost inside the machine. He sees the truth others can't. That the peace people cherish is not born of understanding, but of surrender. Humanity traded its will for safety, its individuality for comfort. He doesn't merely break the rules, he exposes them. Every murder, every manipulation is a question wrapped in blood. What happens when the human soul is measured by statistics? Makishima isn't insane. He's painfully sane. A man who woke up in a world that stopped thinking. His crimes are not random. They are philosophical experiments designed to test the limits of obedience. He isn't the destroyer of order. He's the revealer of its hypocrisy. And that's what makes him dangerous. To understand Makishima, we must strip away the label of villain. He is a question, embodied. A question every age must answer. Is freedom worth the chaos it brings? His philosophy aligns with existentialism, born from thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Friedrich Nietzsche. They all believed that meaning isn't given, it's created. And when the world stops letting you create it, life becomes mechanical. In Psychopass, Sibyl replaces God, a machine that decides what's good, what's evil, who is valuable. Nietzsche once declared, "God is dead and we have killed him." Makishima extends that thought. If God is dead and we replace him with a machine, is humanity truly free? To him, Sibyl represents Nietzsche's last man, humanity reduced to complacent comfort, stripped of ambition, creativity, and pain. Makishima's rebellion is a desperate cry against that decay. He sees chaos not as evil, but as the birthplace of meaning. Without the freedom to err, there is no authenticity. He stands for radical autonomy. The idea that being human means choosing, even when those choices lead to ruin. But like every philosopher who stares too long into the abyss, he begins to confuse clarity with righteousness. His rebellion becomes sacred. His logic, divine. Makishima wants others to awaken. But he forces them to. He becomes the very tyrant he sought to destroy. Every philosophy breeds its counterforce. If Makishima is the herald of freedom, Akane Tsunemori is the voice of conscience. She believes in moral duty, a Kantian principle that true morality is not born from impulse, but from will guided by reason. Where Makishima claims that laws enslave us, Akane argues that laws give our freedom shape. In Immanuel Kant's view, freedom isn't doing whatever we desire. It's acting according to a moral law we choose for ourselves. It's order, born from inner discipline. Makishima dismisses this. To him, Kant's morality is just another system, another cage. But Akane reminds him, and us, that conscience is not control. It's responsibility. Their conflict mirrors the eternal philosophical duel: anarchism versus ethics, chaos versus duty. Both seek humanity's salvation, but by opposite roads. He tears systems down to rebuild humanity. She reforms systems to protect it. In their final confrontation, she shows what Makishima cannot understand: that freedom without compassion is nihilism in disguise. Throughout Arc 2, The Madness Within, one truth keeps echoing. Madness isn't always chaos. Sometimes it's logic stripped of empathy. Jigsaw believed suffering redeems the soul. Hannibal worshipped beauty and murder. Patrick Bateman chased identity through consumerism's void, and Makishima seeks meaning through rebellion. Each began with truth, that pain teaches, that art transcends, that freedom matters, but they all lost themselves in obsession. Madness is not when reason disappears. It's when reason becomes everything. When logic blinds the heart. Makishima's flaw is not his ideas. It's his inhuman purity. He acts like a surgeon removing a cancer called obedience, forgetting that what he cuts away might also be the soul. Makishima's world isn't dystopian fiction. It's philosophy made visible. Each of his crimes functions like a thesis test. When he hands a student a weapon, he asks, "Is morality still real if the system disappears?" When he manipulates a writer into murder, he wonders, does art lose its soul when it's policed? He is Dostoevsky's underground man, rebelling against rational utopia. A man so aware of control that he chooses suffering just to feel alive. Albert Camus wrote that the only serious philosophical question is whether life is worth living. Makishima answers by turning life into rebellion, defiance against meaninglessness. He accepts absurdity but refuses to be subdued by it. Camus's absurd hero, Sisyphus, rolls the stone forever knowing it will fall. Makishima becomes Sisyphus with a gun, pushing humanity's conscience uphill again and again to remind it that struggle itself is freedom. Yet even he falls victim to the existential trap. In declaring himself free of systems, he creates his own system of destruction. He becomes the prophet of a new order, one that worships chaos. When freedom becomes an ideology, it ceases to be freedom. That is Makishima's tragedy. He believes he's liberating the world. But his liberation is violence without purpose. In the end, the philosopher becomes a fanatic. The rebel becomes the dictator of thought. Makishima's warnings are no longer fiction. Today, our lives are ruled by invisible Sibyls, recommendation engines, social credit systems, predictive policing. We outsource our judgments to algorithms because it's easier. We call it data, but it's really a moral filter, deciding what we see, think, and believe. Convenience has become the new obedience. Nietzsche feared that when God died, humanity would invent replacements, nationalism, ideology, or machine gods. We did. We call them systems. When Makishima says, "The law doesn't protect people, people protect the law," he means that morality only exists if we actively uphold it. But if we leave that task to machines, we lose the very act that makes us moral. Makishima's violence is horrifying, but his insight is prophetic. The Sibyl System is not a distant nightmare. It's an exaggerated reflection of our own era. We monitor ourselves, rank ourselves, expose ourselves for validation. We have built digital Sibyls inside our phones, and they judge us every day. He is a monster, but also a mirror. And the reflection is uncomfortably clear. In the end, Makishima is undone not by guilt, but by purity. He believes so completely in his philosophy that he can no longer feel. To him, empathy is weakness, compassion, corruption. He kills to awaken others. But what he awakens is only fear. He liberates humanity from its cage, but leaves it wandering in ruins. This is the paradox of absolute freedom. Without restraint, it consumes itself. The same flame that burns the cage also burns the bird. Akane understands what he cannot, that morality is not a program, but a choice renewed each day. She refuses to execute him in hatred, proving that conscience, not control, is what keeps us human. Makishima sought to restore humanity's soul, yet in the process, he lost his own. His freedom became isolation, his rebellion, despair. He is not destroyed by the system he hates. He's destroyed by the void inside him. When there's nothing left to fight, Shogo Makishima isn't simply a villain. He's a philosopher who took his ideas too far, a rebel who mistook destruction for liberation. He reminds us that the danger of his philosophy isn't its madness, it's its truth. Because deep down, we all crave freedom, but fear what it costs. In a world where every decision is predicted, every risk pre-calculated, and every emotion analyzed, Makishima whispers the forbidden thought: if you cannot choose, are you still alive? His tragedy is not that he lost to the system. It's that he proved it right. A world without moral restraint collapses just as surely as one without freedom. And so the question remains: was Shogo Makishima truly evil? Or was he simply the last free man in a world that surrendered its will? This is Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. See you on the next episode.